Hello and welcome to my Arts and Crafts. I'm Libby and today I'll be showing you this card using the Pink Fresh Studio Painted Daisies stamp set and layering stencils. So here's the card before we get into the project. And then I've placed my stamp into the Misti and I'm rubbing it with this adhesive remover because it helps to prep my stamp. This is the first time I've used it, so it'll help to prep it so I get a good impression the very first time. I'm stamping this with some Versamark ink onto some regular white cardstock. I don't remember the dimensions of this, but it's about to the size of the stamp set, a little bit bigger. I am going to be doing a 5x7 card with this because it is a bigger stamp and would cover a whole A2 sized card, so I decided to make it bigger so I could have some background to it. I'm also using an air hockey puck to apply even pressure over the stamp because it is bigger and I want a good impression. I will also stamp that twice, and then I've poured over, I think it's clear embossing powder, but it might be white. I'm pretty sure I used clear. Anyway, I will heat set this with my heat gun. Sorry, the paper kind of gets out of focus and it focused on my hand there for a minute, but yeah. Anyway, I will be using the Positively Everything tool. This is heat resistant, and so it's just nice to heat emboss on sometimes, and so yeah. And then I will just make sure that all of the embossing powder is heated up, or it's all shiny, so that I can do the layering stencils without removing any of that powder. So next I'm going to be using some various inks from my stash to ink up these stencils. I started with the first stencil here, and I'm going to start with some yellow flowers. I chose to be selective with the inks I place on these stencils, but you could do the stencils in all one color, one stencil with one color as seen in this little image from the stamp set there. I chose to cut that out because I find it really easy to see which stencils apply to which inks I need to put down. So I typically keep these stencils for that, or I typically keep this little piece of the stamp set like backing piece with my stamp set so that I can reference it when I need it. So I've applied some mustard seed distress ink into some of the little flowers there, and then I will be applying the spice marmalade distress ink into some of the centers of the flowers there. You can see this stencil creates the areas that are yellow, that yellow greenish on the on that little card over there, in case you are wondering which stencil this applies to. Next I will be adding some green. This is Sweet Leaf from Altenew. I'm applying it pretty heavy because this is a lighter ink into the areas for the leaves. I will just remove my washi tape that I've used to mask here so that I can get this last little leaf area, and then I will apply that Sweet Leaf over that as well. I'm using the same blending brush and just cleaning in between each color that I use, but I actually suggest you using different like either blending foams or ink blending brushes to do this with, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to switch colors. So I will remove that stencil there. And then I decided that my paper kept moving around and then it would get off on the stencil, so I added a little bit of washi tape behind the paper so that it would be easy and it wouldn't move around. Next, I will line up this next stencil, which has the big flowers in it. This one I think it's mostly all pink, but you can see I did some of the darker yellow. I don't know how that got cut out. I must have accidentally deleted that part of the clip, but I just went over that with some darker yellow ink. I actually believe it is Sunshine ink from Simon Says Stamp. It is, I think they're hybrid ink, so yeah. and I just went over that with my blending brush. I will next be using Cotton Candy ink from Hero Arts to ink blend the base of these bigger flowers here. I think it's a nice, pretty light pink, almost coralish kind of color for these flowers. And it's on the lighter side, so it's easy to add depth to. So yeah. I will then pull up this stencil, which will then reveal this beautiful image, and then I will bring in the next stencil here, which does more detail to the flowers. I am going to start with the Rose Madder ink. This one's also from Hero Arts. This is a darker pink, which will go nicely with that cotton candy ink we used earlier, and this will use on the bigger flowers there, the daisies. And so yeah, I'm just gonna blend that over. I'm doing a fairly heavy hand, kind of medium-ish. I want to make sure that all that ink gets into the tiny little spots of the stencil because it creates a really intricate design to this. And then I will bring in a little bit of this orange. I tried to apply it without the blending brush, but I soon realized I had to go in with the blending brush. So you'll see me here check, and then it didn't work, so I just blended that ink out that was on the stencil there to finish that off. And then I will come in with this layer, which I will be doing in the Picked Raspberry Distress ink. This one I think is a bit darker than the Rose Madder, but it will definitely add detail to this flower. So I'll just apply that over these areas here. And these ones are shown by the darkest areas on the on this little card over here to the side. So yeah. Once I've gotten a good blend of that on, I will take this stencil off and apply the next one. So the next one I am going to be doing in this green apple ink from Hero Arts, and so I will be applying this ink onto the leaves. This one is the leaves that are light green but not the yellow green on this little card sheet over here, the reference sheet that I'm using. And so yeah, I will apply that over the whole thing, and yeah. I decided to go the ink pad to the stencil and then just blend it, apparently. That must have been more efficient for this stencil because it had a lot of open areas to it. I will then pull back this stencil and apply the next ink. This one is Just Green from Altenew. This one's a nice, pretty dark green, which I will apply that color into the into the detail layer for the leaves. This is shown by the darker green detail for the leaves in the reference photo. So then you have the completed design there. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to be using Dewdrops dye ink from Altenew, and this one I'm kind of doing something a little bit different. I'm going ink pad to paper and I'm just blending it on really dark on the edges and then lighter in the center. You can see I even picked up some of that ink that was on the work surface there, and you can see I do get a few finger spots, but it will be covered up by my image. So once I have a good amount of ink on there, I think it actually created some really cool texture for the background. I will check it. You can see I have put some sparkly stuff on there. I just used a sparkle pen, really whatever sparkle pen you have will work. I used the Wink of Stella brush from Zig to add that just onto the flower areas. And then I also made this sentiment. I just die cut it from from this dark pink cardstock and added that Wink of Stella pen to it. I layered it and then added it to the shadow layer, and then I will place it right there on my flowers. I also added the flowers up on foam tape just to add a little bit of dimension, and then I will add this coordinating sentiment that says "in every way," and I believe I stamped that with the picked raspberry ink that I used earlier. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and come back next time. If you are interested in any of the supplies I used today, check the description box below. For more inspiration, please consider liking and subscribing, and for even more inspiration and updates, check my Instagram and Pinterest accounts at My Arts and Crafts. Have a great day. See you soon!